Has the whole world gone crazy?
Welcome to Truman's Town Hall with your host, Matt Truman.
Hello. This is Matt Truman. Thank you for downloading this episode. Thank you for sharing with a friend. Today on the program, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. But first, we're going to do a little experiment. So I'm going to pop open my phone, and I'm going to do this live. I may cut some of this out in post-production, just so you guys don't have to listen to it all. But I'm going to open my phone, and I'm going to play live, the media, the news, live. All right? It'll be live. Well, it'll be recorded, but live as I record this at 10:26 p.m. Thursday evening, and we put it out on Friday. So let's start with CNN.
It was they gave time for the Capitol Police, for the FBI, for the ATF to get inside that building and to perhaps save lives of lawmakers, right? Remember, they needed time to get the leaders of this country out of harm's way. And it is the MPD that allowed that. And one other point I want to tell you is that the prosecutor, the man, Michael Sherwin, who's leading this investigation, he said that we will be shocked by some of the video that we will eventually see. Hopefully that will come out. The hand-to-hand combat that these MPD officers were facing with these attackers, these vile, vicious attackers who were trying to get around every officer.
This is Don Lemon
They
Show
wanted
on
nothing
CNN
stopping them, and it was the MPD that ultimately came in there, were allowed them to slow down and get a lot of the lawmakers out of harm's way. Don.
Shimon Prokopez, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
If you're at home and you have time, because the video's all over, go and listen to some of the raw, unedited stuff. You'll hear black officers being called the N-word. Being told there's no racism in America, that it happened under, the former president, or the Democrats did it, or it's not going to get me to like you anymore. I mean, it's just craziness. And then think about this. That one officer had a mild heart attack. We have an officer who died. Another one committed suicide. And officers that are injured. You had all those officers fighting to protect the very people who were inside of that.
All right, so that was CNN. And we're just flipping through the news channels to see, as an experiment, to see what they're talking about. This is Fox News.
Well, I also think it's racist. I'm going to say it. I think they are racially dividing
with
America
Laura Ingraham.
at a time where our country is going through difficult times of the pandemic and our economy, obviously the upheaval politically. But I think it's racist. They're demonizing all people who are non-minority and throwing them all into some big pot of intolerance. And then all these kids are like, what? I just want to go play kickball. It's just bad. It's bad teaching. It's vindictive, and it's propagandistic. So you're right. Chairman Mao would be thrilled. Chris, one of the assignments given to the third graders is in that school, I guess it's a slide, and it shows students were asked to write about their identities.
Okay, that was Fox News. I told you what that was. We're just going to go through the major ones, the major cable news stations. The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell, MSNBC.
Them by not calling them out for violent rhetoric. Violence happens, and violence has been happening for many years now. I mean, obviously, we all remember the El Paso shooting. Obviously, there was also a synagogue shooting. So this has been a steady stream of white nationalist terrorism, and I think that Republicans certainly are reaping some of the consequences of the things that they have sown. But it's really important that we stamp this out, because this is not something that coincides with a functional democracy. What these folks want is essentially to start a race war and have a white ethno state. I'm not a part of that state, Lawrence. And so I think it's important that folks who are have a moral compass that is working. Maybe it's these newly woke Republicans can all agree that we have to have a basis in truth and facts, and also condemn white nationalism and white nationalist terrorism wherever we see it, even if it's people who we consider a part of our so-called political coalition.
All right. I don't even think I need to cut any of that. I was thinking about editing some of that. That way it was so you guys didn't have to listen to me like flipping through the stations and stuff. So we started with CNN as an experiment. All right. We're not going to get into the topics that they were discussing. Right. We started it as an experiment, and we flipped through all the 3 major cable news stations. What did you see? What did you hear? Not what did you see? This is an audio podcast. I only do audio podcasts because I have a face for radio. But what did you hear? I heard rhetoric. Dangerous rhetoric. I heard the media being the media. Fanning the flames for you and I to get upset, right? Whatever political side we stand on, we watch these shows, or we listen to them, or we listen to other commentators, and it makes us upset. But I'm here to tell you, it's not as bad as they want you to believe it is. The people aren't as bad as they want you to believe they are. What do you mean, Matt? What do you mean the people aren't as bad? Listen, I'm not talking about the violent people. The violent people need dealt with. No matter, for whatever reason they give you that they acted violently. They need dealt with by the law, right? Equally under the law. All men are created equal. This is still the United States. You can still keep this country. Benjamin Franklin, as you're well aware, he was coming out of the Continental Congress, and a lady shouted at him, "Mr. Franklin, what kind of government do we have?" What did he say? He said, "A republic if you can keep it." Well, can we keep it? Well, if we read social media or we listen to that, no, we're not going to keep this republic. We're not going to keep it that way because they want us spun up. These politicians and this media, they want you spun up, and they want you to be angry and to act violently so then they can act. Look, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a crazy year. They've had everybody shut down, locked in their homes. That's not good mentally for anyone. All right? For whatever the reasons, and we're not going to debate those reasons today on this podcast. For whatever the reasons, whether you believe in the safety of it or you believe it is an attempt to use a disease for control, whatever you believe, we've all been shut in. And now we've had things happen over the summer, things happen, after the summer, Trump rallies and the like, and then the violent action that happened at the Capitol. What does it all mean? I don't know. Listen, I believe that in any faction or any group, okay, no matter what we're talking about, there are good people. Good Americans who only want their voice heard. I believe there are folks who consider themselves Antifa who are good. Folks that consider themselves BLM who are good. Folks that consider themselves Trump supporters who are good. There are going to be folks inside of that are violent extremists. There is no doubt. Now, we were listening to those news clips, and they're making it about race. I planned to do the experiment, But I didn't tell these news organizations what to say. It just happened. Those weren't clips I pulled off the internet that I'm about to play a couple clips from the Joe Rogan show here in a couple minutes. But that was, I opened my phone and I flipped through the stations and I let you guys hear it. That is what is being put out to us right now. The president got impeached again. It was done, no matter if you agree or disagree, it was done constitutionally. The process was constitutional. Whether it was done rightfully through the Constitution, that can be debated. But how the process worked was constitutional. And how quick was it? Very quick. I saw a meme the other day that said they impeached the president in essentially 2 days. And how long did it take you to get your $600 stimulus check? So if they want to do something, they can do it. Ladies and gentlemen, people of America, settle down. It is my opinion that the flames are being fanned by politicians and the media to get a reaction out of us for a reason. Call me a conspiracy theorist. I don't know. But Matt, there were yes, I agree. I agree that bad things have happened this past year. People have died. And if you've listened to this podcast long enough, you'll know a little bit about me. I'm against the death penalty. I've said that before. And I'm against abortion. So I don't like death. I want people to live, all people to live and live as freely as possible. I want people to be able to debate ideas and argue points. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, the people with the real control right now are the people that hold the money and the power. And they are letting us know that because they are controlling everything we do. And what we do to defend from that is we take a minute and we try to analyze what is actually being put out to us. What does all this really mean? Now, I'm not saying the entire government is bad, but there are bad actors in government. I'm not saying the entire media is bad, but there are bad actors in media. They know where their bread is buttered, and they got a big tub of it. How does government pass laws? They use our actions, and then they react with laws, i.e. restrictions on the people. When I was growing up, and I was a little kid, I asked my best friend's dad, what is the difference between a Democrat and a Republican? He said, a Democrat wants more government and a Republican wants less government. Well, that's changed now. It's my opinion that they all want government. I was listening to Fox News this morning. I just popped my earbuds in as I was walking, and someone on Fox News attributed something called the Boogaloo Boys, white supremacists, and libertarians. Lump them all into one. Libertarians are white supremacists now? Libertarians? The people that have been for gay marriage since the 70s. They're for decriminalization of drugs. They're for liberties, personal liberties for all. Right? I'm not very happy with the Libertarian Party, especially the local one, the one in Ohio, because it's they want to push people away and not bring them in. But that's besides the point. Now they're also talking about how veterans are bad, right? This is stuff that has been happening, that has been in the works for years, and I am shocked to see it. I thought a lot of this stuff was just conspiracy theory, right? And I didn't want to believe what was actually happening. But it's happening right before our eyes. Life is now stranger than fiction. And we have to wake up to this. We have to not let it influence us. I'm not saying turn off the news. I'm saying actually watch it. Watch it from all different spectrums and know what's going on. Know what they're trying to put out there. And then research it. And really critically think. As the left-wing news says, all Trump voters are bad. All veterans are bad. All whatever is bad. You can dismiss that right off the bat. If the right wing says all Antifa's bad, all BLM's bad, you can dismiss that as well. Not all people are bad. But it seems more and more this world is becoming more and more evil. And there are people out there, and I truly believe that it's not even a lot of the politicians. I know they use a lot of the rhetoric and they're fanning it, but the control, I think, is outside what is now described as the deep state. That's for real. They want us to be at each other's throats for a lot of different reasons. But wealth and power are the two major ones. If something crazy happens and then they can exploit the craziness and put it out before us, they will. This is going to be a long podcast. I know there's a lot of good people out there. And so we let's get off of that. Let's talk about what is the solution. The solution is for us to allow our heads to cool, all right? Not get so upset, because a lot of us, we do divide up, right? We are in a bit of a divide. Maybe give our neighbors a break on the other side of the spectrum. You know, I feel like I'm a centrist. Maybe I'm not. Maybe you guys think I'm not. I don't know. I can agree with a lot of things the left says and a lot of things the right says. But we have to open our eyes to what is being done right now in this country. And it's a battle for power. And it's a real battle. Just because the Democrats won, they're still scared, or the liberals or the left or whatever you want to call them, they're still scared because that's why they're shutting down the First Amendment. All right? That's why they're shutting down free speech, and that's why they're trying to tell us that what is said out on the interwebs is dangerous, and it's going to get people hurt. It might. We live in a dangerous country, but the same stuff that is being put out on the web and the same rhetoric that is being put out there by individuals is being put out by the media as well. Just, it depends on what station you turn it on. So we got to be careful. We got to calm down. All right? There may be some protests, more protests. That's great. That's the First Amendment. Utilize it if you want to, but do it peacefully. If someone runs up to you and yells in your face or is trying to antagonize you, walk away to the other side. Be on guard. Right? Don't let someone take you to that boiling point. Yes, defend yourself if you need to. That's a basic human right. And if you do choose to go out to these protests, I'm not. I won't be at any of these protests. I would never be at any of these protests. Not right now. Nope. Because there are people out there that are going to try to antagonize and get others hurt. That's my opinion. Be careful of that. But if you feel like you have to be out there, bring a camera. If someone's acting up on your side, their side, whatever side, because there'll be people that could pose as they're on your side, whatever. Ask them questions about your side. Take pictures. If somebody's acting up, take pictures. That's the video. That's the only thing. You've got to have proof. Hey, we didn't do this. This person started it. And I'm not saying ratting people out or anything like that, but you got to protect yourselves because the news will run away with it. You heard on that clip, when they got more video coming out and they said it's going to be disgusting, it probably is. And they will exploit it. For whose benefit? Is this for your benefit? All this commotion, is this for our benefit to get this country in a big uproar? Well, it's the Trumpers' fault. Well, it's the BLM's fault. Well, it's the Antifa's fault. Ladies and gentlemen, something bigger is happening. I don't know what it is, but I feel like something bigger is happening. Just be careful out there. I guess essentially that's what I'm saying. That's why I did the experiment. Because, anyway, we're going to shift gears. Have you ever heard about Operation Northwoods? Operation Northwoods. It was developed out of Operation Mongoose. And if you don't know what Operation Mongoose is, I'll just give you a little brief history here. Operation Mongoose was developed by our Defense Department, the United States Defense Department, to overthrow Castro. And within that operation, they were looking for ways to overthrow Castro because Castro had become communist. And he had allied with the Russians. So during the Cold War, we did not want the Russians that close within 100 miles to the United States, because if you're within 100 miles to the United States, there is no warning that you're lobbing over missiles or you're flying in an airstrike, which was an issue back then. So the Defense Department came up with Operation Mongoose to figure out ways to defeat Castro. And something came out of Operation Mongoose. All this has since been declassified. Operation Northwoods was declassified in 1997. So it wasn't that long ago when it was declassified. Operation Northwoods took place in 1962. It was developed. Operation Northwoods was developed in 1962. The Joint Chiefs of Staff, the CIA, the Defense Department, the State Department, all these folks, they created these different plans on how to start a war with Cuba. Part of it out of Operation Northwoods was to attack Guantanamo Bay, the United States attacking the United States, but doing it covertly as to make it look like it was the Cubans so we could invade Cuba. They also had plans to attack within the United States as well. Terrorist attacks within its own borders. You can look all this up. The actual declassified documents are on the internet. I'll link it in the description. You can check it out yourself. Operation Northwoods. The Defense Department created a plan to kill its own citizens and military service members in order to have a reason to take out Cuba, take out Castro. That's real. Now, I got a 10-minute clip. I told you this podcast is going to be long today. I got a 10-minute clip from the Joe Rogan Experience. So be mindful that this may have language in it. I'll play this clip and then I'll play another clip. All right? Won't be as long as 10 minutes. But this is very important. All right, I'm going to play this full clip because it's a podcast and we can do that sort of thing. It's 10 minutes, 30 seconds. It was recorded March 26, 2018, it looks like, with TJ English. He details the Cuban connection to JFK, the CIA, and organized crime. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
And they got imprisoned, and they had a lot of resentment towards Kennedy. I mean, I go into the book a little bit about the Kennedy assassination and the belief that a handful of those Cubans may have been involved in the Kennedy assassination along with the Italians, with the mob, because they were working hand in hand with the CIA.
Yeah, that was one of the leading conspiracies outside of the CIA killing him. And even the CIA killing him was a part of the Bay of Pigs conspiracy, and also the idea that he wanted to disband the CIA. There was a really interesting article recently that was dismissing almost every single conspiracy theory about the Kennedy assassination. They said except the CIA one. There's legitimate possibilities that the CIA...
Well, you can bet your ass that if the CIA was involved, then Cubans were involved.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you something. In the book, you speak about Fidel's mistress.
Yeah.
That he got
only had
disenchanted with her at this particular one.
Marita.
She had gone to New Orleans. or to Dallas.
Marita Loren.
This is very interesting.
Notorious figure. She had a child with him and had an abortion and didn't have the child. She got pregnant with Fidel. In fact, Castro admitted as much. She got pregnant with Castro. She had an abortion. And then the CIA used her to try to assassinate Castro. She was supposed to slip him a pill, and she put it in her face cream, and the pill dissolved in her face cream, and that was the pill she was going to try to slip to Castro. Her case agent was a guy named Frank Sturgis, who wound up being one of the Watergate burglars. See, the thing about Bay of Pigs and the Cubans, the Bay of Pigs invasion is the key to understanding the whole latter part of the 20th century politics in the United States, the Cold War, because the alliance between the CIA and the Cubans rears its head constantly throughout the latter part of the 20th century. The Watergate burglary, 5 out of 7 of the burglars were Cubans, Bay of Pigs veterans.
Really?
They had been recruited by a guy named E. Howard Hunt, CIA agent who was one of the orchestrators of the Bay of Pigs invasion.
Was also one of the people that on his deathbed said that he was involved in the assassination of Kennedy.
Yes. So the CIA would come to these Cuban exiles, the militant exiles, and they'd say, go do this operation, go do this burglary at the Watergate, and then we go get Fidel. Go do this assassination, and then we go get Fidel. And the Cubans were always ready and willing.
Because it was all leading back to getting Fidel.
It was all leading back to getting Fidel.
Did you ever see the images of what they said was E. Howard Hunt? He was one of the people that was arrested. There was a series of, there was a bunch of guys that were arrested that were on trains. They were calling them hobos, but they were all very well dressed.
Right.
That were near where the grassy knoll was.
The men on the grassy knoll, yeah. Oh,
And
there's lots of rumors about that E. Howard Hunt was one of those men.
Yeah.
There was even a reference that Jose Miguel Battle was one of those men, but that couldn't have been the case because he was in the Army at the time, the U.S. Army. So it's like a subterranean narrative that runs through the latter part of the 20th century. The CIA and right-wing elements in American politics using the Cuban Americans to do all kinds of dirty, covert deeds. And we're talking about terrorist activity, assassination of an ambassador from Chile right in Washington, D.C., blew up his car because he was sympathetic to Castro. A bomb planted on a Cuban jetliner flying from Panama City to Havana. 73 people killed, innocent people, including the fencing team from Cuba, young people. A dirty war was waged by the anti-Castro underground in combination, in partnership with the CIA. And this, we know about it now because a lot of it has been declassified and it's come out. We didn't know about it at the time it was taking place.
Why'd they blow up the plane?
It's just an act of terrorism against Cuba to show them that it could be done, to instill fear and paranoia in the Cuban. The concept was to destabilize the Cuban government so they'd be vulnerable, and then you could take them over. Wow. So any act against Cuba, I mean, asking why blowing up the plane is asking like why fly planes into the World Trade Center.
Right.
You know, it was just a destructive act.
It's pretty amazing how resilient Castro was. I mean, unbelievable. The guy's 90 miles away from Miami and just ran shit through the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, into the 2000s.
They say there was something like 632 known plots over the course of 4 or 5 decades to kill Castro.
That's incredible.
632.
That's
Don't
incredible.
They have a movie, 101 Ways to Kill Fidel?
Yeah.
And he got on a train in New York, and they're like, are you fucking crazy? And they checked to see that he had a bulletproof vest on. He's like, no. He took the train to the UN.
Wow.
Like, he's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
He was fucking nuts.
So what makes this gangster story of the corporation so interesting and different is this political context, the framework that all this shit was taking place against the backdrop of this desire to kill Castro and take back the homeland. And anyone who was involved in that was seen as a hero within the community. Joey can tell you about that. Union City, New Jersey, and Miami were the hotbeds of the anti-Castro movement. There was an organization in Union City called Omega 7,
There was one in Miami called Alpha 66. These were terror organizations, secret organizations that existed to plant bombs. They would plant bombs at embassies in in New York City. They would put bombs at Lincoln Center when an orchestra from Cuba was making an appearance. They were trying to shut down any relationship between the U.S. and Cuba, and governments that were sympathetic to Cuba. They would do actions against them. And this went on for like 40 years, man.
That's unbelievable.
You couldn't mention Fidel in the 70s in Union City like a joke. Like, it's not a joke. Don't even bring him up, dog, because you will get smacked.
Now, was there any pro-Fidel support amongst Cubans?
There was, and bad things would happen to them.
In the United States?
Yeah.
In Cuba, though? What about in Cuba?
Pro-Castro in Cuba? Oh, yeah, sure. I mean...
was it real, or was it out of fear?
No, it's real. It's real. I mean, I've been there numerous times. You know, the Cuban people made a choice. And the revolution, I believe, would have happened with or without Fidel Castro. The guy who was in power, Batista, had taken over the government in a coup d'etat. He wasn't elected, so he was kind of a fraudulent president. And ever since he got in, people knew he was a fraudulent president, and there was attempts to try to ouster him. And that's why he was such a dictator. He knew they wanted to ouster him, so he used the military to repress any kind of movement against him. And it was ugly, and the people rose up against it. That's what happened. It wasn't... So, in my belief, the revolution in Cuba happened for a very legitimate reason. After it happened, in power, it was revealed that Castro and Che Guevara were communists. Castro was very cagey about that during the revolution. They never talked about Marxism and being communists or any of that. And in fact, Fidel came to Union City, came to the United States to raise money for the revolution while it was going on.
Got arrested in Union City.
Yes, he did.
My friend's mom, the Ascalises, she says she still remembers taking the bus in the morning in Union City and Fidel talking to her the way I'm talking to you. How you doing, Susan? What's going on?
Wow.
Like,
he
Fidel
got in a
was
barroom.
walking around.
He got in a barroom argument in Union City, and he got arrested.
Over what?
Probably politics. I'm sure it was a political discussion. So then the revolution happened, and Cuba becomes a repressive, communist, Stalinist dictatorship. But a lot of Cubans, the way they saw it is, that was a choice they made to go with Fidel. He did have, I think, the popularity of the people, following of the people. Some people are quite proud of Castro standing up to the United States. Cubans are very proud people, and they take a lot of pride in the fact that even though there's so much hardship there, that it's a choice they made to go in this direction. At least they have their self-pride, which is more that can be said in some ways about Puerto Rico and Jamaica and Dominican Republic, all these other countries in that region that are just as poor as Cuba. So he has his supporters. He always had his support. Obviously, he also had his detractors, even within Cuba. Most of those people are the ones who got on rafts and tried to leave the island at great risk to themselves to do anything to get out of there, because they realized Fidel was so popular from within the country, you were never going to be able to take him down. So they made the decision to go out in the ocean and try to brave the risks of either swimming or sailing across the Florida Straits.
All right. Obviously, the main topic there was Cuba, but it had a lot of nuggets in there. A lot of good information nuggets that you should soak in. I did a podcast a couple years ago on a fellow named William Morgan, who was an American who went to Cuba to help fight the Castro Revolution. I don't know. I'll see if I can. It's since been off the internet, but I'll see if I can find it and put it up here one day. I find that history very interesting. Very interesting. You have to understand history to understand today. History is so important. There's a lot of things out there that folks consider conspiracy theories. Yeah, and I would definitely agree. I knew, or at least I felt, from the start of all this Q talk, and hopefully you've heard about this. Maybe you haven't. I knew that was a legit, whacked out conspiracy theory. But before we go further, we have to break this down a little bit. Conspiracy theory. In the United States, you can be charged with conspiracy as a crime. The definition of conspiracy is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. That's a conspiracy. A theory is something like Darwin's theory. A theory is ideas intended to explain something. So a conspiracy theory is an idea to explain a secret action or actions to do wrong or do harm. But nowadays, when you hear conspiracy theory, it's bad. And I believe there's a lot of them out there. There's 9/11 conspiracies. There's Bin Laden's not dead conspiracies. I mean, on the forefront in the, what we know of today. So I get all that. So there are false conspiracy theories. But now if you go outside the bounds of media and you don't focus in on what they want you to focus on, you're a conspiracy theorist. You're a conspiracy theorist. Okay. These are ideas or things that for people to do harm. It's happened in the past. They fixed World Series. That's legit. We know that now. We just talked about Operation Northwoods. We played the clip from the Joe Rogan show. You listen to that. And I said I was going to play another one. So now there's this conspiracy theory about Operation Fast and Furious. Have you heard about this? I think we've talked about it on the podcast from time to time. Maybe not, but we will today. Fast and Furious was an operation under the Obama administration. The official story is that they sold guns to the Mexican cartels so they could track them. So we just gave people guns so we could follow them and see where they're going to go. Did they find them? They found a couple hundred, I guess. Let's listen to this clip. What you're about to hear is Joe Rogan with Ed Calderon, who used to be a Mexican police officer. He's an American, but as you know, we live in a melting pot. So there are folks who go down to Mexico and work as police officers to help their country out. They could be dual citizens or whatever. And that's awesome. Tip of the hat. Check this out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's very loose. Like there's a lot of room for fuckery. Calderon era, Bush administration era, there was a lot of stuff going on. Obama administration era, after the whole Fast and the Furious thing, things kind of went dark for a while. Yeah, explain a lot of people don't know what the Fast and the Furious is. It was they had sold guns to the cartel under the guise that this is the way they would track the guns. Yes. It seems so fishy. Oh, I learned about it from CNN, and a few of my friends were killed with some of those guns down there, which is, everybody talks about the U.S. agent that was in Mexico was killed by some of these guns, but there was a lot of, Mexican agents and civilians killed by these guns as well. So there were very specific types of guns, So like, imagine somebody giving you a shopping list about the types of guns you want, right? Mm-hmm. Including in these lists were 50 cal Barrett rifles and FN-57s, which are it's a pistol with a very high velocity round that goes through soft armor, like the type of stuff that was issued to us, right? So all of a sudden we're seeing these space pistols in the hands of the cartels in very specific parts of the country. We're like, But what a preposterous idea that they were going to sell it to the cartel so that they could track them. Well, like that sounds like horseshit to me. That sounds like someone's trying to make money, and they said, "Oh, we'll just say we're selling it to them to track it."
Well, the suspicious part is that all of them went to one specific cartel, the Sinaloa cartel. So
it sounds like such horseshit. The fact that, I mean, who went to jail for that? Eric Holder didn't go to jail.
Oh, he should have. He should have. He should have. I mean, there's blood. You know, people died. There was and I can't say the name, but somewhere in Baja, a little girl lost her arm. An agent that was a friend of mine got killed, and the wife got killed with FM57 that were directly related to that whole thing. Right. So
you can go to jail for fucking tax evasion, and this guy can get away with that. Just the idea that you would run that by people. And they would go, yeah, good idea. Yeah, give them guns.
And to be clear, I don't know the realities of that operation on this side. People say it was happening way before. All I know is that when that happened, nobody told us, and there was definitely some weird resentment on part of the government down there and some people down there, as far as And there was some weird conspiracy theories going on as well down there.
How could there not be?
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like it's a conspiracy theory right in front of your face.
Yeah.
Just the fact, oh, yeah, we just sold them the drugs or the guns so that we could track them.
Yeah.
No one's going to die. It's not like a bad idea.
The main thing you would hear is people
settlement and Fast and Furious executive privilege lawsuit between DOJ and House.
It's just how it ended or wrapped up within the last 2 weeks, I guess.
Yeah. Really?
It's just
this is just wrapping up?
Yeah, just some settlement on March
Wow.
May 8th.
Because this is from, 9 years ago? 10 years ago?
At least. And the guns are still showing up. So I don't know how many of them, I've never known what numbers, but last time we found some, and I actually have images of the ones we found. They were buried in somebody's backyard inside of a water barrel. And all of them were obviously U.S. Origin guns. And they're like, wow, what do you mean? All of them had very specific accessories on them that nobody else in the world puts these accessories on their guns except the U.S. because they're pretty ridiculous accessories.
Like what kind of accessories?
Things that had letters on them, like see you in hell type things on them, and Punisher skulls.
Punisher skulls are the big one, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Your government, they wouldn't do anything nefarious. They wouldn't do anything nefarious to harm anybody, to gain power or wealth. No, it just wouldn't happen. Everything we find out that's negative toward any government official, Republican or Democrat, is a conspiracy theory, or it's racist, or whatever. Listen, yes, there are racist people in this country. That's for sure. The world is full of evil people. If you're a racist, don't listen to this podcast. I don't want you to. I love this country the way it is. I love the melting pot. I love the mixing of cultures. It's a beautiful thing. You don't find it anywhere in the world. Yep. I love America. The bruises and all. And that's why I don't want to see us get wrapped up into something that we don't understand quite yet. Because there's things happening right now that I don't think we understand yet. I don't know what's going on. Right? We can speculate. We can say they're setting us up to take our guns. They're setting us up to shut us up, to eliminate the First and the Second Amendment. We could speculate to that. And it darn well feels like that. They're wanting to, silence Christianity. I feel like that's happening too. I don't know. I'm not going to say for sure, but I do know for sure that Operation Northwoods happened because those documents have been released. I do know for sure that Operation Fast and Furious happened because those documents have been released. We could sit on this podcast forever and talk about the things that have happened in government that was awful and that no one was held accountable for. But look what they're putting on the news today. Who are they demonizing today? Obviously Trump. And I'll be honest, I'm not a Trump fan. I'm always honest about that. But I think they're demonizing him. Did he say a heck of a lot of bad stuff? You darn right he did. Should we reward that? Nah, we shouldn't. Are some of the Trump supporters, were they violent on January the 6th? Yes, they were. Is it possible that there was other things that happened? Yeah. Did you guys, well, we heard, I think on one of those clips, the Capitol police officer who committed suicide. I pray for these folks. I pray for all those officers that were in harm's way. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy theory, but it's going to turn out to be one. Why did he commit suicide? Pray for his family. I don't know why. A lot of things are going to come out in an investigation, I think, on this. I don't think everything's going to come out, but there's going to be some things coming out that I think after all this dies down, then things will start to, that's what happens, right? Operation Northwoods happened in 1962. The documents aren't released until 97. So be patient, ladies and gentlemen. Be patient and don't get too excited and give government a reason to put more restriction on us. That's essentially what this show, what this podcast is about. Pay attention, study history. Don't allow somebody to incite you into violent action. Be patient. Right? Power switches back and forth in this country. Yeah, Matt, but the Dems, they're going to do that. Okay, well, let's watch it. Let's watch it. Let's put pressure if they attempt to take our First Amendment. You know, these companies are doing it. That's the beta test, in my opinion. Let's see how they react with this. Right? And then maybe we'll, well, you got the freedom of speech. Yeah, but you can't do hate speech. Well, who gets to choose what's hate speech and what isn't? I'm not defending it. You guys listen to this podcast. Do I talk hateful? I don't think I do. I want peace, ladies and gentlemen. Peace. That's what I want. I enjoy discussing politics. I enjoy debating politics. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to hate you because you have a different opinion than I do. We don't have the power because we've allowed our government to grow so big. Folks need to organize. They need to run for office. They need to get inside of office and do the right thing, working with other folks. Maybe they don't all agree on the same thing, but work with other folks. Not these career politicians. Term limits would be wonderful. And I will talk and debate term limits until my head explodes. Anywho, your head is about to explode right now because I am now bloviating, and I will stop. I appreciate you guys listening to this podcast. Please share it with your friends, your neighbors. We're going to, like I said, keep pumping these out there. I get nervous. I don't know. Should I keep doing these podcasts? I got nervous before. I don't know if I call it nervous, but it's like, I don't know. I don't want to stir up but I'm not trying to. I want you guys to be aware that, we have a government and a media right now that I don't think really cares much for us. They say they're going to fight for us, but are they really? I mean, on any side. Even if you fall under the left or the right, or like how I feel in the center, between both of them, I don't know if they care about any of us. They use a lot of us, don't they? I don't know. Something to think about. Peace, ladies and gentlemen. Peace, man. Be good to each other, guys. Be kind. Let's start helping people out. Volunteering in our communities, working with other people. We're going to have our next podcast on Monday. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We did a podcast last year, January 20th, where I played the I Have a Dream speech by Martin Luther King. It was pretty good. I like that podcast. I like that speech. Man, we need that dude today, don't we? Good night. Get him, Reverend Graham. Well, we simply put, we need Jesus. And I feel like our world is straying away from God, straying away from Jesus. You know, I don't know. That's just me. And I don't hate you if you're Jewish or Muslim or Hindu. That's, hey, go on with it. Do your thing. Kind of depressed, guys. I hope this world gets better. I hope you guys are better. And I'm going to pray for all of us. Keep me in your prayers too. Talk to you later.
There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds are getting so much resistance from behind. I think it's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.